October 13th, 2025. A date humanity may never forget. From the depths of space, interstellar visitor 3IATLAS allegedly reached out, not with a burst of static or a radio wave, but with light, pulsing, a sequence too precise, too profound to be accidental. 5, 8, 13. The golden ratio, a universal signature woven into the very fabric of existence, from galaxies to the smallest sunflower. But then, an unsettling silence. As the light signals began, our satellites went dark. Cameras blinked out, the official record erased. Was this an accident or a deliberate act designed to shroud a monumental moment? The question lingers. Did 3IATLAS just communicate with us? Could this hidden code hold the message humanity has waited centuries to hear? If this mystery grips you, if you feel that tremor of revelation, then stay with me. Hit like and subscribe, because this story unfolds in real time, and you won't want to miss a single truth unearthed. Tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and if you believe we're being told the whole story. Share this video on X, Facebook, Reddit, or your private chats. You are the driving force behind this search. Thank you for standing with us. Part 1. The pulse heard in numbers. On October 13, 2025, a cosmic whisper may have reached us. Most of the world missed it. This date itself echoes with history, marking 108 years since tens of thousands gathered in Fatima, Portugal, witnessing what they called the sun dancing. But we are not here to talk about 1,917 miracles. Not yet. We are here because on that precise anniversary, an interstellar visitor may have spoken in the only language truly universal, mathematics. Researcher David Serida claims the object 3IATLAS pulsed. Not randomly, not chaotically, but in a sequence so precise, it sent ripples through astronomy, even without official NASA verification. 5 pulses, then 8, then 13. For anyone familiar with patterns in nature, these numbers resonate. This is the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical fingerprint found in everything from a nautilus shell's spiral to a sunflower's seeds. Each number is the sum of the two before it. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and so on. Let's be clear why this is unusual. Comets sublimate as they near the sun. Ice turns to gas. Jets of material spray out, driven by physics, messy and irregular. Natural objects in space follow thermodynamics. They do not count. They do not encode messages. They certainly do not pick specific numbers from a sequence humans have recognized for millennia. Yet, if Serida's observations are accurate, 3IATLAS seem to do precisely that. The Fibonacci sequence is more than trivia. It is woven into nature's fabric. The ratio between consecutive Fibonacci numbers converges on phi, the golden ratio, approximately 1.618. This number appears everywhere. Human body proportions, galaxy structures, tree branching, hurricane curves. Ancient architects and Renaissance painters used it. Biologists find it in DNA spirals. If one wished to communicate across the vastness of space, Fibonacci would be a brilliant strategy. It is a pattern any technological civilization would likely discover while studying their own world. This is the exact kind of signal SETI researchers have hoped for. Structured, intentional, unmistakably artificial. Prime numbers were long considered the most likely first message, but Fibonacci might be even better. It says, we understand growth, recursion, the mathematics governing living systems. We've looked at spirals and seen the same numbers you see. It is a cosmic handshake, written in a language older than any human tongue. But here, the story twists. As these alleged pulses occurred, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory reportedly went offline for maintenance. The feed cut out. This was not the only blackout. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter's high-rise camera, a powerful imaging system, had gone silent weeks earlier, on October 1st, 2025. The Psyche space probe experienced a communications blackout from September 1st through 5th. 3 separate instrument systems, 3 separate missions, all experiencing gaps in coverage during the exact window when an interstellar object was potentially broadcasting mathematics at us. Is this coincidence? Technical failures are common. Instruments age, electronics degrade. Maintenance is scheduled months in advance. Any one blackout, alone, means nothing. But all 3, clustered around the same narrow time frame, during an event that might represent the most significant discovery in human history, that pattern is harder to dismiss. Either we are looking at the longest string of bad luck in recent space exploration, or someone, somewhere, decided we should not see what was happening. The timeline tells a story, even if its meaning remains hidden. September 1st, Psyche goes dark. October 1st, high-rise stops returning images. October 13th, the Fatima anniversary, the alleged Fibonacci pulses, the SDO blackout. Each day, a domino falling. Each blackout, a piece of data we may never recover. In science, we build theories from evidence. But what happens when the evidence itself is withheld? When the instruments that should be watching go blind at the critical moment? This is the central question. Are we investigating what happened, or what we were prevented from seeing? Did the greatest signal in human history arrive, get detected, and then quietly archived away from public view? Or are we pattern-seeking creatures, so desperate for meaning that we construct elaborate narratives from coincidence? Both possibilities are unsettling. Both deserve investigation. Both lead us deeper into a mystery touching mathematics, history, physics, and the very nature of reality. The numbers 5, 8, 13 hang in the air, like a question, asked in a language we are only beginning to understand. This is a story about pattern and meaning, about the gap between what we observe and what we are told, about the possibility that on one October afternoon, while most of humanity scrolled through feeds, the universe leaned in close and whispered a secret we almost missed. Part 2. A language written in spirals. Did 3IATLAS communicate with us using a universal language? The Fibonacci sequence is everywhere, even if we don't always notice it. Every sunflower head holds 2 sets of spirals, one clockwise, one counterclockwise. Count them, and you find consecutive Fibonacci numbers, 21 and 34, or 34 and 55, or 55 and 89, depending on the species. Seeds pack themselves this way for maximum efficiency. Evolution didn't learn this from a textbook. The mathematics is built into the physics of growth. The chambered nautilus builds its shell in a perfect logarithmic spiral, following the golden ratio. Each new chamber is phi times larger than the last, creating that iconic curve. Hurricanes spiral the same way. Galaxies spin their arms in golden spirals, containing billions of stars. The human face, our fingers, even our DNA spirals, all reflect these proportions. We are, quite literally, built from this pattern. This is why SETI researchers always expected any deliberate signal would contain prime numbers or Fibonacci sequences. These are not arbitrary human inventions. They are mathematical truths, discovered, not created, existing independently of who finds them. An alien civilization 30 light-years away would discover the same Fibonacci sequence because it is inherent to spiral growth and efficient packing. They would find the golden ratio in their biology, their planetary structures, their galaxies. If you want to say hello to someone who evolved under a different sun, speaking a language you could never pronounce, mathematics is your best bet. Numbers do not care about biochemistry or culture. 5 + 8 = 13, everywhere in the universe. This brings us back to David Serida's claim about 3IATLAS. According to his observations, the object emitted a burst of 5 pulses, followed by 8, followed by 13, then silence. It is a fascinating choice for a message. The sequence is long enough to be unmistakably deliberate, yet short enough to be repeated and recognized. It offers a simple proof. I understand recursion. I understand the mathematics of growth. I know you will recognize these numbers because any civilization with telescopes and mathematics will have discovered them. Now that I have your attention, you will be watching closely for what comes next. Compare this to natural objects. A comet approaching the sun sublimes, creating chaotic jets of gas and dust. These jets are influenced by rotation, composition, and ice deposits. They do not produce clean, countable pulses in a mathematically significant sequence. That would require timing, control, intention. Here, we must pump the brakes. Everything described relies on Serida's observations. These claims are unverified by NASA or other official bodies. No peer-reviewed paper has confirmed the Fibonacci pulse sequence. We lack independent observers. This is crucial. Science advances on repeatable observations, on data multiple teams can verify. Without that, we are in the territory of interesting hypothesis, not established fact. But interesting hypotheses are interesting precisely because they could be true. The absence of official confirmation does not mean the observation is false. It means we are in that uncomfortable zone between detection and verification. History is full of discoveries, starting with a single observer noticing something odd. Galileo, Henrietta Leavitt, Fritz Zwicky, all started with anomalies. The question is, how do we evaluate a claim like Serida's when official sources are silent and data feeds interrupted? We look at what the claim predicts, what it would mean if true, and whether the pattern holds when examined from multiple angles. We ask if the mathematics supports the interpretation. We look for corroborating details, timeline matches, other anomalies, and we stay honest about what we do not know. Pattern detection is a fundamental human survival skill. We see faces in clouds, hear footsteps in rustling leaves. This served our ancestors, but also makes us prone to seeing patterns that aren't there. Apophenia. We will return to this. But it is equally important that if an intelligence wanted to communicate, it would deliberately craft a signal to exploit our pattern recognition. You would not send random noise. You would send something that lights up our detection circuits, something unmistakable. 5, 8, 13 does exactly that. It is simple enough to recognize, specific enough to rule out most natural explanations. If this were the opening move in a contact scenario, it is brilliantly designed. So, we are suspended between two possibilities. Either we are witnessing the human mind doing what it does best, finding order in chaos, constructing meaning from coincidence, or we are seeing the first deliberate mathematical message from beyond our solar system, timed to a significant anniversary and promptly buried under a cascade of convenient instrument failures. The mathematics is real. The Fibonacci sequence is real. The golden ratio appears throughout nature and would be recognized by any technological species. Whether 3IATLAS actually emitted 5, 8, 13 pulses on October 13th, 2025, remains unverified. But the question has been asked. And questions like this do not go away just because official sources remain silent. Part 3. Fatima and 3IATLAS, a century-old mirror. Did 3IATLAS choose to communicate on a specific date, reflecting human history? Let's travel back to October 13th, 1917, Portugal. Exhausted by war, watched as 30,000 to 70,000 people gathered in Fatima. Many hoped for a miracle, others to debunk it. What happened next has been debated ever since. Multiple witnesses, including journalists and skeptics, reported the sun appearing to move impossibly, spinning, dancing, plunging towards Earth before returning to normal. Colors rippled across the sky. Wet clothes dried instantly. The event lasted about 10 minutes. To this day, no scientific consensus explains what so many people saw. Fast forward exactly 108 years. October 13th, 2025. An object from interstellar space, 3IATLAS, allegedly emits a mathematical sequence precisely when Earth's primary solar monitoring satellite goes offline. The coincidence of dates is exact, not approximate, but the precise calendar anniversary of one of the 20th century's most widely witnessed, unexplained phenomena. If you believe coincidences are just coincidences, this may not move you. If you seek patterns, this demands investigation. The number 108 holds significance in many traditions. In Hinduism and Buddhism, it is sacred. 108 beads on a mala, 108 Upanishads. Ancient astronomers noticed Earth-Sun and Earth-Moon distances approximated 108 times their diameters. Whether these numerical relationships mean anything beyond human pattern recognition is debatable. But choosing this specific date for a signal, if one was sent, would maximize its chance of being noticed by those who track cosmic events, SETI, and historical anomalies. It is targeting. If you wanted to communicate with Earth, to break through the noise of countless space objects, you might time your message to a date already holding meaning in our cultural memory. You would create a mirror between past and present, inviting comparison. This is where many scientists grow uncomfortable. We are linking acclaimed scientific observation to religious history, mixing astronomy with mysticism. Confirmation bias is real. Once you connect a cosmic event to a historical one, you find connections everywhere, amplifying fitting evidence, ignoring contradictory data. This is how pseudoscience spreads. But consider the alternative. Throughout history, astronomical events have been timed to cultural calendars by observers seeking impact. Ancient priests scheduled ceremonies with eclipses. Modern space agencies launch missions on symbolic dates. We are deeply invested in the relationship between cosmic and cultural time. If an intelligence wanted a message to be recognized and investigated, not dismissed as noise, choosing a date with historical resonance would be strategic, even brilliant. It would create exactly the kind of attention and debate we are having now. The Fatima event has never been officially explained, nor confirmed as supernatural by science. It remains in that liminal space. The October 13th, 2025 event occupies a similar space. Something allegedly happened. The timing is extraordinary. Official verification is absent. We have two mirrors facing each other across a century, each amplifying the other's mystery, and researchers like Serida are connecting them. What makes this connection intriguing is the level of planning it implies. If 3IATLAS is a natural object, how could its arrival coordinate with human calendar dates and religious anniversaries? It couldn't. Not unless someone adjusted its trajectory. Not unless the object is following a designed path, calculated to arrive on a specific date, with enough precision to create this very conversation. The level of control, the planning timeline, the understanding of human culture needed to choose October 13th, all imply an intelligence that has been watching us for a very long time. Or, it implies we are so good at finding patterns that we weave random cosmic events into meaningful narratives. Both explanations are on the table. We cannot dismiss the coincidence simply because it makes us uncomfortable, nor accept it as proof simply because it feels significant. The mirror exists, 108 years separate, two October 13th events. One witnessed by thousands, one allegedly detected by instruments. Does that mirror reflect truth, or our desire to find meaning in the cosmos? That question drives our investigation. Part 4. The blackouts and the missing eyes. Did deliberate blackouts prevent us from verifying 3IATLAS's communication? Data is the lifeblood of modern astronomy. We discover planets and asteroids through gigabytes of light curve data and automated surveys. Major discoveries come from enormous datasets. When that data stream is interrupted, we go blind. Let's build a timeline of the blackouts around October 13th, 2025. First, the Psyche mission to a metal-rich asteroid. From September 1st through September 5th, Psyche experienced a communications blackout. NASA attributed this to a safe mode, a routine protective measure. 5 days of darkness during a critical alignment window for solar system objects. Next, the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, one of our most powerful cameras. According to David Sereda, HiRISE went offline on October 1st, 2025. The official explanation involves a failure in an electronics unit, a problem degrading since August 2023. The camera hasn't returned images since. Then, October 13th, the Solar Dynamics Observatory, SDO, NASA's primary real-time solar monitoring satellite, goes offline for scheduled maintenance. The feed cuts out for several hours, during the exact window when 3IATLAS would have been most active, potentially emitting those alleged Fibonacci pulses. Our best solar observation platform is dark. 3 separate systems, 3 separate missions, all experiencing data gaps during the narrow window when an interstellar object is passing through the inner solar system and potentially doing something extraordinary. Any one event alone is a routine technical failure, but 3 together, clustered around the same 2-week period during an event some researchers claim represents first contact, the statistical odds start to look strange. Instrument failures in space are common. The radiation environment is brutal. Electronics degrade. Temperatures, stress, materials, failures are inevitable. Engineers build in redundancy, but there is a difference between random technical failure and coordinated blackout. Random failures should be distributed randomly. You would not expect multiple unrelated systems to fail within days of each other during the same narrow temporal window, unless something external affected them simultaneously. And if something external was affecting them, what was it? A solar storm that wasn't recorded? A gravitational wave? Or deliberate action by someone who didn't want certain observations made? This is where conspiracy thinking can take over. We need to be careful. There is no public evidence NASA deliberately disabled instruments to suppress data about 3IATLAS. Agencies provide technical explanations that fit normal operations. Accusing them of cover-up without proof is irresponsible. But space agencies do classify data, delay releases, and hold back observations for analysis. The Apollo 11 missing tapes are a famous example of data loss through bureaucratic incompetence. What we can say is that absence of data creates ambiguity, and ambiguity creates speculation. If HiRISE had been operational, photographing 3IATLAS, we would have high-resolution images to confirm or deny unusual activity. If SDO had been recording, we would have a complete dataset of solar activity during the alleged pulse sequence. Without that data, we are left with second-hand claims, individual observations that cannot be cross-checked, and a growing sense that something important might have happened just beyond what we are allowed to see. Amateur astronomers tried to fill the gap, some claiming unusual activity around 3IATLAS, but amateur equipment lacks the resolution and sensitivity of orbital platforms. Professionals have the tools, and during the critical window, those tools were pointed elsewhere, powered down, or returning blank data. Whether by accident or design, we missed the moment verification was possible. In science, negative results are published. No data means no results at all. The question remains unanswered, inviting speculation. And when multiple instruments go dark at once, that absence starts to look less like coincidence and more like something systematic. We do not know what, but the pattern demands we ask. Part 5. Enter the hyperdimensional model. Did 3IATLAS communicate using a model of reality only some humans understand? Our investigation now enters territory most mainstream scientists would avoid. David Sereda proposes the hyperdimensional solar system model, HDSSM. In this model, our solar system contains hidden dimensions and orbital positions, corresponding not just to planets, but to energetic domains and metaphysical orders. He assigns numbers to these positions: 5 for Earth, 8 for planet 591, identified with angelic dominions, 13 for virtues, another angelic order, associated with Methuselah. If your skepticism alarm is ringing, it should be. We have left observational astronomy for symbolic mapping, where numbers are assigned to metaphysical concepts and projected onto physical space. This model cannot be tested or falsified conventionally. It is a hallmark of pseudoscience, taking real observations, mixing them with untestable claims, building a structure that feels explanatory but cannot predict or be disproven. Yet, such models often begin from genuine questions and anomalies. They try to make sense of data that doesn't fit mainstream explanations. In Sereda's interpretation, when 3IATLAS emitted pulses of 5, 8, 13, it wasn't just demonstrating knowledge of Fibonacci. It was referencing the HDSSM itself. It was saying, I know about Earth, position 5. I know about the dominions, position 8. I know about the virtues, position 13. This implies the object, or its controlling intelligence, has studied not just human mathematics, but human cosmological models, including esoteric ones. It suggests a level of cultural knowledge far beyond recognizing a technological species. It means someone has been reading our books, studying our myths, understanding how certain humans interpret reality. This is where the model is either incredibly compelling or completely absurd, depending on your worldview. If you believe angels exist as entities occupying specific orbital positions in a higher dimensional structure, the Fibonacci signal takes on profound theological significance. It becomes confirmation. If you are a materialist, this interpretation is meaningless decoration. The model cannot be tested. There is no experiment to prove planet 591 or its angelic association. But let's engage with the idea. Exploring it reveals how humans construct meaning from cosmic events. Mainstream astrophysics recognizes 8 planets, plus dwarf planets and countless objects. We have no evidence for additional major planets in hidden orbits, though we search for a hypothetical Planet 9. The idea of numerically designated positions corresponding to metaphysical orders is not science. It is cosmology, in the ancient sense, mapping physical space onto spiritual significance. Medieval cosmology did this. Dante's Divine Comedy placed Earth at the center, surrounded by spheres of planets and angels. Physics and theology were inseparable. Modern science dismantled that cosmology, replacing it with gravity and inertia. But the older model persists in cultural memory. If 3IATLAS is signaling using a framework like Serida's HDSSM, it suggests an intelligence that understands human culture well enough to reference it, to speak in a language certain humans will recognize, even if mainstream science dismisses it. That is sophisticated, targeted signaling. It raises the question, why? Why would an interstellar intelligence care about medieval angelology? Why reference frameworks most humans have forgotten, or science abandoned centuries ago? Unless those frameworks contain something true, something about reality we have overlooked, or unless we are projecting meaning onto random events. Both possibilities remain on the table. The hyperdimensional solar system model is not science, but it is meaning-making. And meaning-making is what humans do when faced with the unknown. We build models, maps, frameworks that let us feel like we understand. Sometimes they lead to discoveries. More often, dead ends. The challenge is telling the difference. Part 6. Dante's 74-year countdown. Could 3IATLAS's arrival be timed to a countdown encoded in human literature? In 1321, Dante Alighieri completed his masterwork, the Divine Comedy. Its third part, Paradiso, describes his journey through celestial spheres and angelic orders. The text is rich with mathematics and astronomy, reflecting the Ptolemaic model and medieval numerology. Scholars still decode its layers of meaning. David Sereda argues Dante encoded a countdown from 1321 to 2025. The gap is 704 years. This number is not Fibonacci, but Sereda connects it through other mathematical pathways to cycles he believes govern events. 704 equals 164, 44, appears in sacred geometry. 16 is 2 to the power of 4, and 704 can be linked to 432 Hz, a frequency some alternative researchers claim as a universal resonance. We must step back. We are taking a number from simple subtraction, 2025, to 1321, and reverse engineering significance by factoring it and seeking connections. This is numerology, not mathematics. Mathematics is about necessary relationships, testable predictions. Numerology finds sufficient relationships, seeing patterns because they are desired. You can make almost any number seem significant this way. But let's grant that the 704-year gap might mean something not from numerical magic, but cultural timing. If an intelligence wanted to reference Western civilization's cosmological thinking, Dante's Paradiso is a peak moment, a synthesis of medieval astronomy, theology, and poetry. It's a text that survived 7 centuries, studied by millions. It's part of the deep cultural memory. Choosing a 704-year interval from its completion to send a signal would create a connection literature scholars and historians might notice. Dante's cosmology placed angels in specific spheres around Earth. Each sphere had its mathematics, music, light. This was cosmology as geometry, space as nested perfection. Medieval minds found it deeply satisfying. It explained everything. Modern science dismantled it. But the older model still resonates for some. If you are one of those people, and an interstellar object arrives exactly 704 years after Dante completed a text mapping those hidden orders, you pay attention. You look for other connections, asking if the medieval mystics saw something real we've trained ourselves not to see. You wonder if Paradiso was descriptive, not imaginative. Did Dante encode the timing of future cosmic events? This is the challenge with claims like Serida's. They exist at the intersection of scholarship, mystical interpretation, and cosmic observation. They cannot be disproven because they offer narratives, not falsifiable predictions. And narratives are powerful. They make the universe feel intentional again, suggesting our species and history matter to intelligences beyond Earth. This story has emotional appeal, whether factually true or not. The 704-year countdown might be real, or a number acquiring significance through retrospective interpretation. We need evidence. Other dated predictions from Dante that came true. Independent confirmation of a cosmic event in 1321 that set a timer, some mechanism by which a 14th century poet could know when an interstellar object would arrive. Without that, we are left with a fascinating coincidence that might be a thread connecting a tapestry of meaning or a random data point we've over-decorated. What's undeniable is that Dante wrote about cosmic geometry. His text influenced millions. If an observing intelligence sought a cultural touchstone for signaling, medieval cosmology is a reasonable candidate. The great cathedrals, the monasteries, the scholars of that era were their time's scientists. If their tools led them to forgotten truths, revisiting their frameworks might not be nostalgia, or it might be confirmation bias. Both possibilities echo through the 7 centuries, separating Dante's pen from the alleged pulses of 3IATLAS. Part 7. The Sacred Geometry Bridge. Did 3IATLAS communicate using a universal language embedded in sacred geometry? Walk into Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris and look up at the rose window. Its stonework divides the circular opening into 12 major segments, subdivided by precise ratios. The overall diameter relates to its floor distance in proportions approximating the golden ratio. Light floods through colored glass, arranged in patterns medieval architects believed reflected heaven's order. This was not mere decoration. It was visible theology, mathematics given form, an attempt to construct earthly spaces resonating with cosmic harmony. The builders knew their Euclid and Pythagoras, knowing certain proportions produced harmony. The same proportions appear in Islamic architecture: the Great Mosque of Cordoba, the Alhambra, the Taj Mahal. Geometric patterns based on ratios recur throughout nature. Mayan glyphs and temple alignments demonstrate similar knowledge. The pyramid at Chichen Itza casts a serpent-shaped shadow at the equinoxes, an effect requiring precise calculations. The Dresden Codex contains Venus tables accurate enough to predict appearances decades in advance. These were astronomers who tracked cycles, found patterns, and encoded knowledge in architecture. The mathematics they used are the same we use now, just expressed differently. What connects these traditions is the recognition that certain ratios appear everywhere. In music, growth patterns, planetary orbits, the human body. The golden ratio, phi, appears so consistently it is tempting to call it a universal constant of form. It is not a physical constant, like the speed of light, but perhaps something more fundamental, the proportion emerging when systems optimize for efficiency, stability, beauty. Nautilus shells grow in golden spirals because it is the most efficient way to add material while maintaining structural integrity. Galaxy arms spiral the same way because that is how density waves propagate. The universe, at multiple scales, seems to have discovered the same elegant solution to growth in constrained space. If an intelligence from another solar system wanted to announce itself, using Fibonacci, and the golden ratio would be choosing a language any technological civilization would recognize, not because these numbers are human inventions, but because they are universal discoveries. Math is not arbitrary. The theorems of geometry are the same everywhere. An alien species, with different biology and history, would still find that the ratio of consecutive Fibonacci numbers converges on 1.618. They would still discover this ratio produces the most efficient spirals. They would still find it in their own world's biology and planetary dynamics. It is a handshake that works across any divide of time, distance, or form. This is what makes the 3IATLAS claim so compelling to those who accept it. The object allegedly chose to communicate using a pattern appearing in sacred architecture across human cultures, underlying natural growth from sunflowers to galaxies, representing one of mathematics' truly universal discoveries. If that choice was deliberate, it demonstrates not just intelligence, but sophistication. The understanding that communication requires common ground, that you announce yourself by speaking in vocabulary the receiver already knows. 5, 8, 13 are not random numbers. They are the opening phrase of a language both parties speak fluently, though learned from different sources. But we must be cautious about spiritualizing this too much. The golden ratio appears in nature due to physics and evolution, not because the universe communicates aesthetic truths. Spirals form when systems rotate and grow. Fibonacci sequences emerge from recursive rules. These are consequences of how matter and energy behave, not evidence of conscious design. Finding the same patterns in human architecture means we noticed what was already there and incorporated it because it looked right, because our visual systems evolved to recognize harmony, because such structures were stable. The sacred geometry is real in the sense that the mathematics is real. Whether it is sacred in any deeper sense remains an open question. If 3IATLAS actually emitted Fibonacci pulses, we are left asking, is it speaking the language of physics or the language of meaning? The two might be identical. Mathematics might be the bridge between consciousness and cosmos, the common ground where minds find each other regardless of substrate. Or we might be projecting human meanings onto natural phenomena. The cathedral builders thought they were revealing divine order. Modern physicists think they are discovering natural law. Perhaps both perspectives see part of the truth. Perhaps the universe is mathematical in a way that makes consciousness and structure inseparable. Or perhaps we are still doing what humans have always done, looking at the stars and seeing ourselves reflected back. The geometry is real. The spirals exist. Whether they form a bridge between human culture and alien intelligence, or just between human observation and human interpretation, depends on evidence we do not yet have. But the bridge stands, spanning the gap between our medieval cathedrals and the alleged pulses from an interstellar visitor, connecting geometry across 8 centuries and trillions of miles. Part 8. The physics that shouldn't be. Did 3IATLAS communicate through physics that defies natural explanation? Comets are dirty snowballs, ice mixed with rock and organic compounds, remnants from the solar system's formation. Most spend eons in the Oort cloud, occasionally nudged inward. As they approach the sun, ice sublimates, creating jets of gas and dust that form the characteristic tail, always pointing away from the sun. That's the baseline. 3IATLAS, according to reports from amateur observers and analysts like David Sereda, doesn't completely follow this pattern. Some observers claim a sunward jet, material moving toward the sun rather than away. This violates basic physics, unless something actively propels that material. Natural outgassing can produce jets at various angles, but sustained sunward jets are unexplained by sublimation. Then there's compositional analysis. Comets typically show water ice, carbon dioxide ice, ammonia, methane, and silicate dust, a primordial mixture. Some reports suggest 3IATLAS shows unusual spectral signatures. High nickel content, low iron ratios, not matching typical cometary composition. Nickel-rich objects are usually metallic asteroids, fragments from protoplanetary cores. Finding high nickel in an interstellar object is interesting, but not impossible. Finding it combined with cometary activity, low iron, and possible sunward jets starts to paint a picture of something that doesn't fit our categories. Let me be clear. These claims are unconfirmed by peer-reviewed analysis. NASA and the International Astronomical Union have not released data supporting unusual composition or anomalous jet directions for 3IATLAS. We have reports from individuals, some credentialed, some with histories of extraordinary claims. Without independent verification from multiple professional observatories, we cannot treat these reports as established facts. That said, the possibility that 3IATLAS is physically unusual deserves exploration. As an interstellar object, it came from another solar system, formed under potentially different conditions, different stellar metallicities, different protoplanetary disk compositions, could produce strange objects. Its interstellar origin already makes it extraordinary. Only 2 previous confirmed interstellar objects, Oumuamua and 2I Borisov, have passed through our system. Both showed unusual characteristics. Oumuamua exhibited non-gravitational acceleration not fully explained by outgassing. 2I Borisov had an unusually high carbon monoxide ratio. These are objects from alien solar systems. We should expect them to be weird, but there's weird, and then there's engineered. A sunward jet suggests active propulsion, not passive response to solar heating. High nickel with low iron suggests deliberate composition, possibly manufactured materials. If you design an interstellar probe, you optimize for strength, radiation resistance, minimal mass. A nickel-based alloy might be a good choice. You need propulsion for course corrections, braking, maneuvering. Sunward jets make sense for trimming trajectory or slowing down. Every anomaly, individually, could have a natural explanation. Taken together, they sketch an object behaving more like a spacecraft than a snowball. This is the probe hypothesis. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb suggested Oumuamua's acceleration could be a light sail. The mainstream community pushed back, demanding extraordinary evidence. Loeb argued science has a bias against artificial explanations. The debate continues. If 3IATLAS is a probe, it's more sophisticated than Oumuamua. It's not just passing through, it's potentially signaling, timing its arrival, maneuvering. That implies active operation, onboard intelligence, or remote control. Someone is still out there, directing it, watching us, waiting to see if we notice. The level of control required is extraordinary. Interstellar travel demands immense energy. Accelerating a probe across light years, slowing it down, maintaining operation for millennia, requires engineering we don't possess. Or maybe it's just a strange rock from a strange solar system, and we're pattern seeking again, seeing design where there's only unusual chemistry and coincidental timing. The universe is vast. We've studied a tiny sample. Drawing conclusions about what's normal and artificial from such small data is premature. We need more data, more observations, more interstellar objects to establish baselines. But that brings us back to the blackouts. The instruments that could provide that data were offline. Observations to measure composition, track jet directions, map trajectories precisely, either weren't made or haven't been released. We're left with fragments, amateur reports, claims that can't be verified, because the verification systems were dark. Whether 3IATLAS's physics violates natural explanations remains uncertain. What's certain is that the physics matters enormously, because if this object is engineered, actively controlled, deliberately signaling, then we're not investigating an astronomical curiosity. We're documenting first contact. Part 9. Cosmic silence or suppression. Did institutional silence or deliberate suppression hide 3IATLAS's communication? In 1969, NASA landed humans on the moon. The original high-resolution tapes of this achievement were lost, recorded over due to bureaucratic failure and a tape shortage. Not conspiracy, but incompetence. Space agencies operate with limited budgets, aging infrastructure, and enormous data volumes. The pipeline from raw data to published results involves dozens of steps, and data can sit for months or years. Sometimes it never becomes public, classified for national security, or showing something embarrassing. Let's revisit our timeline. Psyche goes dark, September 1 Saint, 5th. Official explanation. Safe mode triggered by an onboard anomaly. Safe mode is real, a protective state, but the timing during a window of interesting alignments and an approaching interstellar visitor invites questions. Was safe mode triggered by something Psyche detected, or was it a technical glitch? Its timing only significant because we seek patterns. High-rise goes offline October 1st. The camera had been degrading since 2023, a documented fact. CCD sensors fail gradually from radiation damage. This is normal aging. But October 1st is 12 days before the Fatima anniversary. 12 days before the alleged Fibonacci pulses. The camera that could have photographed 3IATLAS with unprecedented resolution during its pass suddenly stops working. Coincidence or convenient timing? Then, October 13th, SDO maintenance. Satellites need maintenance. Scheduling it months in advance is standard. But maintenance coinciding exactly with an event some researchers claim is first contact looks suspicious, especially without detailed justification for that specific day. Maybe it was random. Maybe it was necessary. Or maybe someone decided the feed should go dark. If you are suppressing information about an anomalous cosmic event, you have options. Classify data, delay release, release data without analysis tools, or ensure instruments aren't looking by scheduling maintenance or experiencing convenient failures. Each approach has been used historically. Was any applied to 3IATLAS? There is no public evidence, no whistleblowers, no leaked documents. The blackouts have official explanations that fit normal operations. But absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, especially when investigating potential suppression by organizations with resources to classify information. If data was captured and classified, we wouldn't necessarily know. Institutional incentives would favor public normalcy while handling the extraordinary privately. This mirrors UFO discourse. For decades, military agencies denied serious investigation of unidentified aerial phenomena. Then, in 2021, official reports confirmed those programs existed. That trained observers reported objects exceeding known technology. The narrative shifted from "these don't exist" to "these exist, we don't know what they are." The shift happened because institutional willingness changed. Could the same apply to 3IATLAS? An object with artificial characteristics, arriving on a symbolic date, potentially communicating mathematically, would be handled quietly, not out of malevolence, but caution. First contact protocols, if they exist, likely call for verification, analysis, and controlled disclosure. Those with access might believe silence is responsible, or there might be nothing to disclose. The blackouts might be coincidental, Serida's claims might be misinterpretation. We are investigating absence. Shadows. The gaps between what we were told and what might have happened. Absence is hard to prove. You can only point to patterns, ask questions, and press for transparency. What we can say is that the data pipeline matters. How observations flow from instruments to public determines what realities become consensus. When that pipeline has blackouts during critical windows, intentional or not, it creates information asymmetries that undermine trust. Even if nothing extraordinary happened, the perception that something might have been covered up becomes its own reality. The silence around 3IATLAS, cosmic or institutional, is now part of the story. Part 10. The psychology of Fibonacci fever. Did our human desire for meaning lead us to misinterpret 3IATLAS, or did an intelligence exploit our pattern-seeking nature? On August 15th, 1977, the Big Ear radio telescope detected a strong, narrow-band signal lasting 72 seconds, matching an artificial transmission. Astronomer Jerry Eman circled it, writing, "Wow, the wow signal." Searches found nothing again. It remains one of SETI's most compelling, frustrating candidates. This is the nature of anomaly detection. You see something extraordinary, then it vanishes. Was it real? An instrumental glitch? Interference? A natural astrophysical burst mimicking artificiality? Without repeatability, you cannot be sure. Science requires reproducibility. The human brain didn't evolve for this ambiguity. We evolved on savannas, where pattern recognition was survival. Rustle in grass, wind, or predator. Shadow on path, stick or snake. Natural selection favors false positives over false negatives. Better to see 10 patterns that aren't there than miss the one that is. This cognitive bias, apophenia, makes us see patterns even in randomness. We cannot turn it off. Fibonacci sequences are particularly susceptible to apophenia because they genuinely appear everywhere. Flower petals, tree branching, hurricanes, financial markets. This ubiquity means if you look for Fibonacci, you'll find it. The sequence is real. The question is whether its appearance signifies design, natural law, or coincidental matching. Consider Tabby's star. In 2015, it exhibited bizarre dimming patterns, losing up to 22% of its light. One hypothesis: a Dyson sphere, a megastructure built by an advanced civilization. The idea captured public imagination. SETI turned telescopes toward it. Then, a natural explanation emerged. A disk of dust and debris from a disrupted comet. The megastructure hypothesis died. This pattern repeats in SETI history. Fast radio bursts, pulsars briefly labeled LGM, one for little green men. Oumuamua's acceleration, all initially looked artificial, then found natural explanations. Does this mean we dismiss every anomaly as apophenia? No. Science advances by taking anomalies seriously, investigating thoroughly, entertaining multiple hypotheses. Dismissing the Fibonacci pulse claim without investigation would be as biased as accepting it immediately. The correct approach is skeptical investigation. Treat the claim as a hypothesis to be tested. So, let's test it psychologically. If you design a first contact signal, would you use Fibonacci? Yes, for all the reasons discussed. Universal, recognizable, demonstrates mathematical sophistication, appears in natural and technological contexts. It would immediately light up human pattern recognition. An engineer trying to get our attention could hardly choose better. But this is exactly what makes it dangerous from a false positive perspective. Because it works so well as a signal, we are primed to interpret it as one, even when it occurs naturally. Its very ubiquity, which makes it a good communication choice, makes it a poor discriminator between intentional and accidental patterns. Imagine detecting 5, 8, 13 pulses from an object. Your brain flags it as Fibonacci. You get excited. You look for corroborating evidence, compositional oddities, blackout timings, historical anniversary connections. Each piece increases your confidence. But now ask, if the 5, 8, 13 sequence was purely coincidental, would you still find supporting evidence? Would your pattern-seeking brain still locate oddities, coincidences, connections? Almost certainly, yes. Confirmation bias ensures that once you adopt a hypothesis, you selectively attend to supporting evidence. This doesn't make you foolish. It makes you human. We lack safeguards for the 3IATLAS case because primary data is unavailable or unverified. We work with second-hand reports, gaps, and a narrative constructed by researchers already convinced something extraordinary happened. That doesn't mean they are wrong. It means we are in the messy early phase of investigation. The psychology of Fibonacci fever, seeing 5, 8, 13 and thinking message, is both our greatest asset and greatest liability in searching for cosmic intelligence. It means we will notice patterns that might be signals. It also means we will chase phantoms. The key is maintaining the tension, open to extraordinary possibilities while demanding extraordinary evidence. Part 11. The strange quark plasma at CERN. Could hidden patterns revealing themselves across scales connect to 3IATLAS's communication? 2,500 feet beneath the Switzerland-France border, protons collide in the Large Hadron Collider, releasing energies not seen since microseconds after the Big Bang. Matter vaporizes into quark-gluon plasma, a primordial soup. CERN physicists study this to understand fundamental forces. In October 2025, results from collision runs showed something unexpected. The plasma flowed in patterns that didn't match standard hydrodynamic models. Instead of a simple fluid, it exhibited structure, vortices, flows, suggesting additional degrees of freedom, hidden variables. If this anomaly holds, our understanding of matter at the fundamental level is incomplete. Why does this matter for 3IATLAS? We might be living through a moment when hidden patterns are revealing themselves across multiple scales simultaneously. At the particle physics scale, quark-gluon plasma shows unexpected structure. At the cosmic scale, an interstellar object potentially signals using mathematical patterns. If both boundaries show anomalies at the same time, is something fundamental changing? Is the universe speaking more clearly? This is speculative. No obvious mechanism connects quark-gluon plasma to 3IATLAS's pulses. But science history shows breakthroughs often cluster. Quantum mechanics, relativity, nuclear physics, all emerged within decades. Not because the universe changed, but because experimental capabilities and theoretical frameworks reached critical thresholds. Could we be in a similar moment? Instruments have extraordinary precision. James Webb, gravitational wave detectors, Event Horizon Telescope, particle colliders, AI systems processing vast data. We are better equipped to find patterns than ever. If those patterns exist at multiple scales, we'd expect them to emerge across different fields around the same time. The quark-gluon plasma anomaly might connect to cosmic signals through fundamental mathematics. Both involve patterns, structures emerging from what should be simpler systems. Quark plasma should behave like an ideal fluid. Instead, it shows complexity, hinting at deeper rules. Similarly, if 3IATLAS is natural, it should behave like other comets. Instead, It allegedly shows structure, patterns, timing, hinting at deeper organization. In both cases, we see potential evidence that reality is more organized, more structured, more intentional than reductionist physics predicts. Or we are seeing noise that looks like signal because we are desperate for the dark universe to mean something. The CERN findings are preliminary. They might vanish under scrutiny, like many anomalies before them. But if both anomalies are real, what would it mean? It would suggest that organization, pattern, information processing capacity might be more fundamental to physics than we currently believe. Modern physics treats information as secondary, emerging from matter and energy. But some theorists argue information is primary, that the universe is fundamentally computational. Physical laws are algorithms. Matter is what information looks like when it organizes itself. If information is fundamental, pattern generation and recognition become cosmic principles, not biological accidents. Fibonacci sequences appear not just from mechanical growth rules, but because the universe's information processing architecture favors certain recursive structures. Intelligence emerges inevitably. Communication between intelligences becomes a natural consequence of information-rich systems interacting. The CERN anomaly and the 3IATLAS signal might be connected conceptually. Both are potential instances of pattern emerging where we expected simpler behavior. Both challenge reductionist models. Both invite us to consider whether organization and structure are intrinsic to physical law. And both are occurring just as our civilization has developed the capacity to detect them. We live perpetually in this moment of uncertainty before resolution. It is uncomfortable, but it is where discovery happens. Part 12. Solar maximum surprises. Could the sun's unpredictable activity be part of 3IATLAS's communication, or a distraction? The sun breathes in an 11-year cycle, its magnetic field strengthening, driving sunspots and flares. We are approaching solar maximum in cycle 25, and it's proving more energetic than predicted. Sunspot numbers and flare frequencies exceed forecasts, suggesting the sun has surprises our models haven't captured. Coronal mass ejections, CMEs, launch billions of tons of plasma into space. If aimed at Earth, they can damage satellites and power grids. October 2025's heightened solar activity coincides with the 3IATLAS event. The sun was particularly active around October 13th, with multiple flares recorded. The SDO going offline for maintenance meant we missed high-resolution observations of some of this activity. Could there be a connection between solar dynamics and the alleged interstellar signal? Several possibilities emerge. First, the electromagnetic environment around Earth is heavily influenced by solar activity. Radio noise increases, plasma densities fluctuate. If 3IATLAS were signaling, these factors could interfere with reception or transmission. Or, the object might have timed its pulses for high solar activity, precisely to use the sun's energy, amplifying a weak signal by modulating solar emissions. This would be extraordinarily sophisticated, hijacking a star's output to carry a message. Second, if 3IATLAS is artificially controlled, solar activity might provide cover. A flash from an object near the sun during intense flares could be dismissed as natural solar phenomena, allowing the object to signal without immediate attention from automated detection systems. This would be strategic signaling, hiding a message in the noise, visible to careful observers but ignorable by automated filters. It's cosmic steganography. Third, and most speculatively, the solar maximum itself might be the trigger. Some fringe researchers propose solar activity influences consciousness. If solar maxima affect human cognition, An intelligence wanting to communicate when human minds were maximally receptive might choose this timing. We'd be more likely to notice patterns, make intuitive leaps. The problem with these scenarios is they require the signaling intelligence to have detailed knowledge of solar dynamics, Earth's electromagnetic environment, and possibly human psychology. That level of knowledge requires proximity, long-term study, perhaps previous visits. This pushes us into territory where hypotheses expand to accommodate observations, becoming less falsifiable. This is a warning sign. Good theories make precise, testable predictions, but solar activity is real, measurable, and significant. The stronger than predicted maximum is established. Multiple instrument blackouts occurred during this period. Whether these facts connect to 3IATLAS signaling mathematically is the question. The sun might be incidental background, or central to communication, or the reason we misinterpret natural phenomena. Solar events produce optical effects, radio bursts, magnetic disturbances. Separating signals from solar noise requires careful analysis of exactly the kind of data that wasn't recorded. This is the recurring frustration. Every interesting question leads to missing data. Every potential explanation requires observations we don't have. The sun was active. The object was present. The instruments were dark. Did something extraordinary happen in that darkness? Or was the darkness itself the most significant event, preventing us from seeing that nothing extraordinary happened at all? Both possibilities remain open. The solar maximum adds another layer of complexity. If you're evaluating mathematical pulses, you must account for the sun's activity. Until that analysis happens, we're speculating. The sun blazes, the comet passes, the instruments go dark, and we're left trying to reconstruct events from shadows and gaps. Part 13. AI finds patterns humans can't. Could AI have detected 3IATLAS's communication, or perhaps dismissed it as noise? In October 2025, Google DeepMind and OpenAI announced collaborations with cosmology groups, applying advanced machine learning to cosmic data. These AI systems find patterns in data too complex for humans. They've discovered unexpected structures in the cosmic microwave background, identified gravitational lensing signatures, suggesting clumped dark matter. They find patterns we didn't know to look for. This is a fundamental shift. For centuries, humans formed hypotheses, designed experiments. AI removes this constraint. Machine learning can scan data for any deviation from randomness, flagging anomalies without preconceptions. This is powerful, but dangerous. Not every pattern is meaningful. Data contains noise, artifacts, statistical flukes. AI is good at finding patterns, but not inherently good at distinguishing meaningful from meaningless. This connects directly to 3IATLAS. The alleged Fibonacci pulse sequence is exactly what an AI might flag as anomalous. 5 pulses, then 8, then 13 inches, a comet's light curve, a significant deviation from randomness. But human judgment is required. Did the comet actually pulse? Or did the AI find a sequence in noisy data that happens to match Fibonacci because Fibonacci numbers are common enough to appear by chance? This is the challenge of AI for anomaly detection. It finds everything. Sorting requires careful human analysis, difficult when underlying data is unavailable. There's another dimension. If agencies use AI to pre-screen data, the AI might filter out anomalies as noise before humans ever see them. Imagine an automated system scanning terabytes of satellite imagery, light curves, spectroscopic data, trained on millions of examples of normal objects. When something genuinely novel appears, something not matching the training set, the AI must decide. flag for human review, or classify as instrumental noise and discard. If tuned to minimize false positives, it might be too conservative, filtering out genuine anomalies. This is the alignment problem. An AI trained to minimize false positive anomaly detections might achieve that by never flagging anything as anomalous. The 3IATLAS Fibonacci pulses, if they happened, might have been detected, processed by AI, classified as noise, and discarded, all without human intervention. We'd never know we missed first contact because the machines we trusted to watch decided it didn't fit their models. Conversely, AI might create patterns where none exist. Machine learning is notorious for finding spurious correlations, for hallucinating structure in random data, especially with limited or noisy datasets. If an AI encounters an interstellar object, a type it's seen maybe twice before, it has almost nothing to generalize from. It might latch onto random fluctuations and interpret them as significant. The Fibonacci sequence could be AI pareidolia, the machine equivalent of seeing faces in clouds. This is the paradox of AI in astronomy. We need it because human attention doesn't scale. But AI systems are black boxes with unknown failure modes. They make decisions affecting what observations reach human awareness. If they're wrong, if they miss genuine signals or hallucinate false ones, we might not discover the error for years. The question of 3IATLAS's pulses might be answered not by better telescopes, but by better AI, or by humans finally accessing raw data. If the data exists and is released, multiple groups will examine it. But if it was discarded or classified, we'll never have that opportunity. The machines watch the sky now, more tirelessly than humans. But machines are not neutral observers. They embody the assumptions and biases of their programmers. If those humans didn't imagine interstellar objects might signal mathematically, the machines won't be optimized to detect such signals. The universe might be shouting in Fibonacci, and our AI gatekeepers might classify it as noise, because nobody taught them that numbers can be messages, that pattern can be language, that mathematics might be the bridge between intelligences. Part 14. The Mars Mystery Layer. Did a blackout of Mars's most powerful camera obscure 3IATLAS's communication or interaction with the red planet? Mars hangs in our sky as both inspiration and warning. We've sent more missions there than anywhere else, searching for past or present life. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, launched in 2006, carries the high-rise camera capable of resolving features smaller than a meter from orbit. It gives us stunning, detailed images. According to David Serida's research, HiRISE went offline on October 1, 2025, due to a failure in its CCD Red 4 imaging unit, which had been degrading since August 2023. This is independently verifiable. Public archives show image releases tapering off. The official explanation: radiation damage accumulating over nearly 2 decades. Electronics fail. This is expected. HiRISE far exceeded its lifetime. The camera dying is sad, but not suspicious in itself, except for the timing. October 1st is 12 days before October 13th, 12 days before the alleged 3IATLAS Fibonacci event. If 3IATLAS's trajectory brought it near Mars' orbit, or behind Mars from Earth's perspective, HiRISE would have been one of the few instruments capable of photographing it with sufficient resolution to detect structural details. With HiRISE offline, we lost that capability precisely when it might have been most valuable. Coincidence? Probably. But coincidences are stacking up. Mars itself holds an interesting position in the mythology of hidden signals, UAP. UFO communities often focus on Mars for potential artifacts. Images occasionally show formations that, with imagination and low resolution, can be interpreted as artificial. The famous Face on Mars was debunked by higher resolution images. Again, pattern recognition. But some researchers maintain Mars hosted a technological civilization, and agencies hide the evidence. This claim is unfalsifiable, as any absence of evidence is interpreted as successful suppression. If 3IATLAS passed near Mars, and HiRISE had been operational, what might it have photographed? The object itself, potentially. More importantly, if the object were interacting with Mars in any way, leaving traces, communicating with something on the surface, reflecting signals that interaction might have been visible. HiRISE images the Martian surface, but its pointing system can track moving objects. With the camera offline, that option didn't exist. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter continues with other instruments. Only HiRISE is silent. This partial failure is more suspicious than complete mission loss. If something hit the spacecraft, you'd expect multiple systems to fail. If someone wanted to disable imaging while maintaining other functions, they'd shut down the camera specifically. I want to be very careful. There is zero public evidence HiRISE was deliberately disabled. The technical explanation is consistent with normal aging, but selective failures during critical windows deserve scrutiny. Questions about whether official explanations are complete and independent technical assessment. Mars sits between Earth and the outer solar system, a natural waypoint. If an intelligence were approaching our Sun, Mars would be an early target for study. An interstellar probe might make a Mars flyby for reconnaissance before continuing to Earth. And if that probe's activity during Mars approach was something agencies preferred not to have documented in high resolution, disabling the most capable camera while maintaining others would be one way to manage that. Or HiRISE just died of old age at a coincidentally interesting moment, and we are constructing elaborate scenarios because humans are storytelling creatures. The Mars mystery layer adds depth, but also complexity that might be illusory. We are layering hypothesis on hypothesis. The challenge is maintaining skepticism while staying open, rejecting paranoia while acknowledging institutions sometimes suppress information. Mars waits, red and cold, its cameras partially blind. Whatever happened or didn't happen near its orbit in early October 2025 remains unconfirmed, unanalyzed, filed away. And we wait, earthbound, asking questions, trying to reconstruct events from the pieces we're allowed to see. Part 15. The Coming Windows. Did 3IATLAS communicate with us? The next windows offer the chance to find out. October 19th through 30th, 2025, marks 3IATLAS's closest approach to the Sun. It's perihelion, the moment of maximum solar heating and, presumably, maximum outgassing. But for Earth-based observers, the object is behind the Sun during this window. We cannot see it. Only spacecraft positioned elsewhere could track it. Most of those instruments experienced blackouts or failures. The timing is exquisite if you're trying to hide activity, infuriating if you're trying to observe it. By mid-November 2025, 3IATLAS should emerge from behind the Sun as seen from Earth, moving outward on its departure trajectory. This is the next window for observation. If the object is to do anything else unusual, emit additional signals, demonstrate non-gravitational acceleration, and reveal structural details, this is when we might detect it. Amateur astronomers worldwide are targeting it. Professional observatories, if interested, have scheduled follow-up observations. The question is whether those observations will be made public promptly, or whether data will be delayed, embargoed, classified, or simply not released because nothing interesting was found. April 3rd, 2026 is another significant date, the scheduled release of ExoMars data, currently under embargo. If any ExoMars instruments observed anything relevant to 3IATLAS, that data might be in these archives. When released, Independent researchers can examine them for anomalies. This is how science often works. Initial observations, official results, then years later, reanalysis of archival data reveals what was missed. If 3IATLAS truly represents something extraordinary, evidence might be scattered across multiple mission archives, unrecognized because no one was connecting the dots. The pattern only emerges when you step back and look at everything together. What should you be watching for? First, any repeat of the Fibonacci sequence. If 3IATLAS emits 5, 8, 13 again, that would be strong evidence. The first detection wasn't noise. Second, any extension of the sequence, 21, 34, 55 pulses, would indicate intentional continuation. Third, any response from Earth-based transmitters. Some researchers might signal back, transmitting mathematical patterns to see if 3IATLAS acknowledges. Fourth, official statements from space agencies. If they acknowledge the pulses, it's a significant shift. If they remain silent, that silence is data. Fifth, amateur observer networks and citizen science projects. These can catch what official instruments miss. The coming windows are opportunities for the object to become observable again, for new data to confirm or refute the October claims. They are also test cases for transparency. Will agencies release data promptly? Will independent researchers get access? Will claims be evaluated on evidence or dismissed? How these questions are answered will tell us as much about human institutions as about cosmic visitors. There's a thought experiment. If 5, 8, 13 was the opening statement, what comes next? If this is contact, it's not a one-time event. It's the beginning of a conversation, unfolding over months or years. The Fibonacci sequence is an invitation to pay attention. The next numbers are 21, 34, 55, 89, 144. If you see those numbers in pulses, trajectories, or event timings, that's confirmation. That's the universe, or something in it, speaking mathematics, proving the initial contact wasn't accident, but genuine signal. Or it's our pattern-seeking minds constructing elaborate narratives from chaos, seeing what we desperately want to see. Meaning, intelligence, acknowledgement. Both possibilities remain open, because the evidence needed to close them won't arrive until the next observation window. And maybe not even then. Maybe we'll spend years debating October 13th, 2025, arguing whether humanity received its first message or if researchers got excited about instrumental noise. Maybe we'll never know for certain, because certainty requires data, and data requires instruments that point the right way and share what they see. What's undeniable is that the question has been asked. 5, 8, 13 hangs in our awareness now. A sequence carrying the possibility of everything or nothing. The coming windows will add more data, more observations, more opportunities for pattern to reveal itself as signal or dissolve into noise. Either way, we're watching now, finally paying attention to the spaces between planets and the mathematical languages that might bridge species separated by light years. If something is out there trying to speak, we're listening. And if we're alone, if the only voice in the cosmos is our own echo, we're learning that too. Slowly, through the patient accumulation of silence and absence, the sky continues its ancient rotation. Objects move, instruments watch, and we wait, suspended between discovery and delusion. Watching the calendar for dates that might mean everything. Watching the instruments for signals that might never come. Watching ourselves for signs that we're learning wisdom or just accumulating more sophisticated forms of self-deception. The coming windows approach. We'll see what they reveal.